The story of how I met my fiance is well known now to listeners of the show, but I'm going to tell it again here, and I'm going to tell the next chapter of that story. There was a time a few years ago now where I was very depressed. I'd just come out of a long-term relationship and I was lost and confused. I didn't know who I was. I was sad. I was sad all the time. And that sadness grew into a bitterness which oddly capsized in on itself and became hollow nothingness. I self-destructed. And I've self-destructed plenty of other times in my life, but this one was a particularly explosive one. Now, I went to the bank and I very unwisely got a £15,000 loan. And the next month or 6 weeks was spent spending that loan on frivolous things, on naughty things, on things I shouldn't have been spending it on. And the reason I was spending the money so frivolously was because, as far as I was concerned, I was going to die before I had a chance to pay it back. My plan was to explode, to do lots of things I've always wanted to do lots of drugs, to explode. And then when it was all over, I was going to kill myself. And I was okay with it. I mean, I wasn't like, I wasn't okay with it. I wasn't okay as a man. I would just, decades of unresolved personal issues had come to the forefront. And I just was so tired. I was so tired of being sad and lonely. I just became a vacant mess. So anyway, I spent 6 weeks really crashing around life, pushing barriers and wasting £15,000 of the bank's money. One evening, I was writing all of my suicide notes. I wanted to say goodbye to people. I wanted to thank people. So I was writing these letters and I received a text from my friend Josh asking if he wanted to meet for a beer. Josh and I had been friends for a long time. And I thought, yeah, that sounds okay, because he wanted me to meet his new girlfriend. Well, his new girlfriend turned up and she was lovely, and she came with a friend. That day I met Misha. She was beautiful, she was funny, and something about her instantly soothed me, instantly calmed me, and it's the weirdest thing. I can't explain it. But I was resistant because we got along so well that night, and then we exchanged numbers, or maybe it was just like Facebook Messenger or something. But we eventually, she managed to. What's funny is that she was persistent. I was a mess. I was dressing terribly. I was pale, and I just sort of given up. But she was persistent with me, and she wanted to go on a date. So I said, okay, we can go on a date, but I'm gonna spend the whole meal telling you exactly who I am, and I want to tell you all the stories of all the terrible things I've done. I'm going to tell you about the last 6 weeks, what I've been doing, and then if you're still here at the end, if you haven't run away, then maybe we can go for another date. And then that's what happened. We went for a meal, and I told her my life story, and she was there at the end of the meal, still into me, still funny, still looking at me a certain way. And then we went for another date, and another date. And I kept living. And I found myself steadily becoming motivated and happy, and just wanted to protect and love this woman, and I fell for her so quickly. And it was just a magical few months. She restored my will to live. And then what was magic about that is I then realized I can't become solely dependent on this woman for my purpose, for my reason to live. So then I began to explore other things that I was interested in. All my old passions started to come back to the forefront. I started to be me again. Steve Kalis re-emerged from somewhere deep down in the darkness. So Misha got pregnant. And then I wasn't to know then that 9 months later, the best thing that has ever happened to me happened. The love that I feel for my son eclipses any heretofore felt emotion. Misha is the great love of my life. And I mean, you'll know if you've got kids listening to this, the love you feel, the boundaries of your love that you thought were there are completely changed the minute you have a child. And Leo being born is the best thing that ever happened to me, because suddenly I'm repurposed. Suddenly my goals are reoriented. I'm living for him now. Do you know that line in Interstellar, which is one of my favorite films, where he said something along the lines of parents exist to be ghosts for their children? I totally understood what that meant for the first time. I'm here to teach him, to help him navigate life in a way that I never could, because I never had the right role models. But suddenly I'm the role model. I'm the father. I'm able to say, there's nothing he can say. There's nothing he can, as he grows up, there's nothing he can come home with and say that will surprise me. And I won't go over all the, crazy things that I've done, but those things that used to torture me and that used to bother me and that used to make me anxious and make me stressed and sad, those things are now, I don't regret those things anymore, because they're handy lessons I've stored away in the library of my mind. Oh, what's that, son? You've got into a fist fight, you've had your heart broken, you've done this, you've done that. Let me just pull out this book from the library of my mind, and this is how I dealt with it very, very badly. So here's how you're going to deal with it, or here's the options you can use, here's how you can deal with it. You're not on your own. I'm here. And and like I said, he gets to see his mum and dad worship each other and love each other and be so close and laugh all the time. And I mean, what a fucking wonderful way to grow up. And I'm lucky. I had a great childhood, and so did Misha. And but I went off the rails in my sort of teenage years, and I never thought for a second that I would be able to step up and be a good father the way that I have. And I'm very proud of myself. Well, the reason I'm making this episode is the other night I thought, God, what if something happens to me? What if I put in all this work to be a great father and try and be the best fiance I can, and something happens to me, a bus hits me, something, I just disappear tomorrow? I'm lucky in that nothing goes unsaid in the house. I feel lots of love. I feel constant love for Misha and Leah, so I tell them in the minute, God, I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. I said to Misha the other night that when we were laying next to each other in bed, I said, I hope you know, I don't just love you, I love every previous version of you. I love the sad and lost teenage version of you. I want to look after you. I want to look after all the previous yous that might not feel like you've been as well looked after as you should. I love you, Mish. I love you, Leah. And it occurs to me that this podcast will survive me one day, hopefully many, many years from now. But this podcast will be my legacy. And this episode is a love letter to Misha and Leah.